Welcome to the Northern Powerhouse interview series, where we're unashamedly spreading good news by interviewing Northern businesses and their successes during the pandemic. Subscribe to be notified of new interviews or click the link in the description to take part if you'd like to be interviewed yourself in a future episode. Great, well, welcome to Northern Powerhouse's Business Success Stories. Today we have with us Cath of Leeds Mencap. So Cath, if you'd like to introduce yourself to the audience and what you do and the great work that you do in the community, that would be wonderful.
Hi, thanks very much, Chris. So I'm Cath and I'm Chief Exec of Leeds Mencap. Now, Leeds Mencap is a local charity. We've been around for 68 odd years. We are affiliated to National Mencap, which is called Royal Mencap Society. But as a local group, we are completely independent and we have to raise all our own funds. And that is an interesting point because actually a lot of people think that their local Mencap group is part of National Mencap. But we all share the same objectives. We're trying to support people with learning disabilities. Yep. Across the country, all the different local Mencaps and National Mencap, and we do that for people in Leeds and beyond. We're not completely restricted to Leeds. So we support people with learning disabilities. We focus on those people who have a child aged 0 to 25, and we support the whole family. So we're there for mum and dad, grandparents, mixed blended families. We're not, whoever is affected by somebody in their family with a learning disability, we try and provide them with the support that they need.
Wonderful. Well, that's great to hear. And obviously what's also interesting is I wasn't aware that you're a local charity, not part of a national charity. I'm going to come to you shortly about obviously funding and things. So what would be great to know is it's been 8 or 9 months since we went into lockdown, etc. I'm really keen to understand how that's affected you, and I guess specifically I'm reading in the papers, etc., the impact on charitable donations, etc. How has the whole situation affected you guys?
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways to look at it. There's the finances, and then there's the people that we're here to support. So if I just start with them briefly, because I think it is worth, sort of getting people to think a bit about how more difficult it's been for some people who have additional needs of all different sorts. So for the families that we support, it's been doubly isolating. So we've all had our ups and downs with with being at home, social distancing, all of lockdown and all of that. For people with learning disabilities and their families, they're excluded and isolated anyway. And so that was an even greater impact on them. And we did a survey and something like 80 to 90% of the parents felt their mental health had worsened. And they also felt that the mental health of their children had worsened. Anxiety increased. Some of the behaviours that children display when they're not happy and settled and when their routines are disturbed, those had increased. So, I think it is worth sparing a thought for people who have had it even worse than everybody's had, really. So, and then I suppose back to the business side of that, because charities are businesses, basically the more money we raise, the more people we can help and support. So, we do, do all of that thinking that any other business does, really. So for us, like many charities, we've been very hard hit by COVID-19. We, as a charity, we generate income in a number of different ways because charities can't just rely on shaking a can anymore. They have to be very creative and very varied and diverse in the way they raise income. So we do our fundraising, and we fundraise from trusts and grants. We did have a fair amount of support from the corporate sector, from businesses, but that understandably has fallen off because everybody's been at home. So the sort of challenge events, your cake sales in your offices, all of those things have dropped off. We also raise money through the community. So that's the fundraising side. We also, though, set up about 5 years ago, we built a building to bring ourselves and our local community together. And within that, we had 2 sort of mini businesses, but they're charitable businesses. So we have a room hire and a nursery. And both of those had been generating a surplus, and what that enabled us to do was to contribute to our charitable work. So but room hire, people can't come together for meetings. So that income literally stopped overnight from that March lockdown. And then the nursery, although we kept the nursery open for key workers' children and vulnerable children, we've lost, the nursery business only works really because of the volume and because parents pay for additional hours on top of the sort of free government funded hours. So clearly all that income had gone. So we think that we lost 40% of our income. The reason we are still here, because we would have been struggling not to be here, was that we faced some cash issues back in 2018, or spotted some cash flow issues. And so back in 2018 took what was a really, really difficult decision to close our residential home, which we'd been running for 50 years. So we sold that, and so in October 19, and so had the cash, basically had cash in the bank from that sale. So from a cash perspective, we've been able to weather the storm. We've also been reasonably successful in getting some of the COVID related emergency funding from different trusts and foundations. And so our financial year had a better outturn than we thought it was going to be. We were predicting a deficit of, I don't know if numbers are relevant really, because they're small compared to a lot of businesses, but we had a sizable deficit budget, and that has been reduced to 20k, 30k. So it's certainly much improved than where we thought. However, the loss of the income plus some underlying structural sort of financial, basically just having a deficit budget that we need to address for sustainability, that challenge hasn't gone away. And in fact, because of COVID, has become more urgent. Because what we've been finding is that many funders are funding short-term emergency work, and that short-term emergency work has been extended, but a number of funders have reduced or cut back or stopped funding the ongoing work that charities do. So we're now beginning to grapple with what that future looks like, when the sort of emergency money is run out, and when there's less in the pot and more people going for it for the ongoing work really. So the challenge isn't over, but we do feel fortunate that we've managed to weather the sort of the short-term painful bit of the challenge. But for us, we've got big challenges ahead to reach a sustainable position.
And well done. We were talking beforehand, and for me, just getting through this is a win, in my opinion, because it's been tough for many people. So really well done, and thank you for also making it clear. Obviously, we're a business coaching organisation. We're talking from a business perspective, but the work, the impact on the people that you work with. I can totally get how much more significant that is than us not being able to get all the things I might whinge about are nothing compared to what some of the people you with are going on. So what are some of the key adaptations have you had to make in terms of the sort of operation of the charity?
Well, we've been very much a face-to-face sort of operating model. So we run play schemes, youth clubs, we run a nursery, we run a specialist nursery for very young children aged 0 to 3 with learning disabilities. It's all face-to-face work. It's all sort of intensive interaction with children and young people, helping them to develop their skills, have new experiences, build their confidence, socialize, all of those really great outcomes, but they've been face-to-face. So in lockdown, we've had to shift and really think hard about how we still meet those needs and still achieve the same outcomes, but remotely. So like everybody, we got a subscription to Zoom and tried our best to shift things. We also just changed what we did and started certainly in the first lockdown, we provided a lot of emotional support over the phone to families. So we adapted what we did, changed the focus away from the face to the whole family, emotionally supporting them, practically supported them. We started some emergency work as a coordinating I suppose, a facilitator really in our local ward in Leeds, and our role is to facilitate the volunteering in terms of the distribution of food and medicines, and that work is still ongoing, which is interesting because it was an emergency response, and now we really need to begin to think where it fits strategically for us and whether there are opportunities there for us, because we've built some great relationships that we can build on in terms of partnership working and stuff. So again, a chink of light in terms of maybe thinking differently about the work we do going forward. But yeah, basically shifting to an online provision. And to be honest, we're not a techie organisation. I've got the most fantastic staff team. The thing that has got us through is the staff, because they've been resilient, they've been hardworking, uncomplaining, and I think that is the greatest resource of any organisation, isn't it, really? And it's certainly true of Leeds Mencap. I couldn't take my hat off to my team enough, really. But none of, we're not a technological, we're not techies. They're people who are really skilled at working with children and young people with learning disabilities. Some of them are really, are much more able to adapt. And so we've used the talents of those people really to shift where we can. But, it's been, I'm really not techie at all. I'm not very social media savvy. I do LinkedIn very occasionally, but not, I can't keep it up. So, in terms of leading an organization to make that shift, they've not necessarily had the best person, but, we've managed to cobble it together and adapted in that way. And then, of course, we've been in and out of various levels of being able to do work face to face. And so now we've got blended offers. So we do some face to face with socially distancing and some online. And so we're now thinking about how we develop that and take that forward. We can reach more people if we do more online. So, the advantages of online is that people can do it at their convenience, and that, we can reach more people. So we've got, again, some exciting things really to think about in terms of how can we reach more people? How can we make it, more accessible to them? As well as keep the face-to-face, because some young people with learning disability, they can't do it's just doesn't work for them doing it over a computer. So, and for some families, there are real challenges in being able to support a young person or a child to do that, or for themselves. People are in financial hardship. Having a child with a disability means that you generally have less money. Many families, only one parent can work. Many families are single parent families. Benefits don't really cover the additional costs of having a child. So not everybody has a laptop and broadband and wireless and stuff. So there's all of those inequalities as well that we hear a lot about in the news. Sorry, I think I'm a bit rambling. I'm rambling a bit, going off on one.
No, you are, but in a good way. So it's okay. No, it's good to, for me personally, it's good to understand, what the challenges you're facing and how you're overcoming them, because it's easy. We can become very insular in terms of looking at all our own problems. But it's good, it's a good wake-up call sometimes to see how this has impacted other people. I was literally talking to somebody yesterday and just saying, that I feel blessed that I live on the edge of the countryside, so I can walk. Even during lockdown, I can walk out and go for a walk directly. I can't imagine what it would be like if I lived in a flat. With no garden, and so I think it's useful every now and again to reflect on how lucky each of us are individually. So no, you're not at all. So please. So what in making that transfer and those adaptations, what were some of the key challenges that you had to overcome?
I think so. One of the key things for us is around safeguarding, which is interesting. So yes, we had to think about what activities might be meaningful, fun for children, accessible. So the content we had to think about and think quite hard about, and that was a little bit trial and error, actually, to be honest. It's like we did scavenger hunts, we did bingo, we did talent nights, and some of them worked well and some of them didn't. So that was a little bit learning as you go along, because there wasn't time to do a survey. There wasn't time to do your market research and find out what people wanted. It was just straight in, give it a go, see what people found out, and people fed back at the time as well. And we've subsequently done a bit of a survey, but to sort of double check what we thought had been going on. Anyway, the main sort of new concern for us was around safeguarding, because children with learning disabilities, some of them aren't able to be verbal, they're not verbal, and so they can't really tell you what they're thinking and feeling. And so you need to be able to pick up on signs, and that was a different, there were just other considerations as well when you're doing stuff remotely, and if children who we might know are vulnerable and at risk, if they weren't coming onto the Zoom sessions, we needed to consider about how we would keep in touch with families, and how we would check in, how we would keep in touch with other people involved in their lives as well, to make sure that family overall, but in particular the children, were safe. So that was a consideration that was new, and it was like, oh, so how do we do that? Also, some of the privacy around, you see into people's homes as we, so some of the considerations about that, some of the considerations about keeping staff safe as well, so so those were things that we had to think quite quickly about, and it's not because it was new for everybody, there wasn't masses of guidance. So it's just like picking each other's brains, joining in on sort of networky type Zoom sessions to just see how everybody was getting on, and just ruthlessly nicking other people's ideas and experiences and learning together, which again, really nice outcome, I think, of COVID and the lockdown is, the ease with which you can have a networking session or bring people together from all over the country and share that learning and expertise and cut the learning process short, really, because if somebody's done it, learned by it, you can just make that available. And one of the really lovely things that I think I've that makes me have hope, that this will continue, is around people's generosity to share. Charities can be quite competitive. We are on the fundraising front, we are all asking for your 10 quid. There's lots of us asking for it, but we also do collaborate. And I think one of the great things was the ease with which people were sharing their learning, the ease with which people were sharing their tips, and the funding pots that were out there, joining together to do joint bids and things like that. That sort of felt like a bit of a shift in, and people just not worrying about things that they might have been a little bit, maybe a bit more protective of before.
That's wonderful to hear. The whole, I think being abundance and sharing is so key, and a real, for me, an effective strategy for business and for life. That there is more out there if we work together than there is if we try and work, against. So, what other highlights have you had? Obviously, that's some wonderful things that you've identified.
Highlights. Just seeing how people just crack on with something that's really difficult and just get stuck in, and that was staff, and that's people who we support. The resilience of some of our families. Resilience is probably a bit of an overused word, but to see what some people cope with and still come out smiling and still manage to say thank you, it does sort of make you just think, that there are some just amazing people out there. And so I think just the people say crises bring out the good and the bad, don't they? And the good is really good that it brings out, and just inspiring stories of people working together and people helping, and even people helping where you think how could they have the resources to help, with what they're coping with and stuff, and staff just going over and above and just keeping going, and again, another change in guidance and getting their heads around the guidance, and another change in working, and it comes again and again, and yet just thinking, they just pick themselves up and carry on. And I think it's just that staying power has been the main highlight. I've also got a board of amazing trustees, and their support and their personal support has been fantastic. And again, it's those sorts of things that keep you going.
Yeah.
And so you can see the positives even when maybe a day hasn't gone that well, and you're making some difficult decisions, because we are still making some challenging decisions, about what we spend our money on and things. So yeah.
Wonderful. That's great to hear. I heard listening to some of the radio the other day about the human conditioning. So one thing that defines a human is unfortunately being able to do really quite atrocious things, but also the capacity equally to do amazing things. And the great thing was, it's a choice. So we have that capacity to do amazingly kind, thoughtful, supportive things. And the more we do, the better the world will be. Wonderful. So I guess, looking back at all the things that you've had to change, etc., what things will you keep doing you'll take as a positive out of what's happened in terms of the future?
Yeah. So in terms of the services that we provide, we will keep a blended offer. And what we really want to do is develop more sort of online remote provision, partly because that does help us reach people who physically can't get to our building, partly because people can access it when they want, so it's that convenience, partly that people can access it without getting involved if they want to, they can choose the level of involvement that they want. So there's many positives to some of that remote, so we do want to build on that and develop that really. The other area that we don't know quite yet how, but is the community work, and the role that we've played as a facilitator in our ward, with volunteering particularly, and working with a large number of partner organisations in the ward, and that really feels like it's got the potential for some magic in it. And so I think we will certainly be keeping doing that for another few months. We hope, fingers crossed, there's some money to keep it going until June, which should really see us post, through the vaccination program, or the bulk of that vaccination program. So summer onwards, maybe life might be a little bit more flexible, but that feels like we've gained something of value from things from that. So we want to see how that fits and how we can move that forward. Our core work, of supporting families and the activities, but also maybe thinking a little bit more flexibly. The one thing that I've learned and want to keep doing is I like planning. I like things. I like to have thought things through, and I like to know where the end point is, and I like to know where the risks are, and I like to try and manage those risks. I don't know, but actually what I've learned is that sometimes you need to just get on and do it, and learn as you go, and maybe take the risk and manage it as you go. I mean, obviously within reason, you can't be risking too much, but
No, it's great. It's really fascinating to say that. A couple of things that I've learned over quite a period is, firstly, the value of a plan is in the planning. So because we're planning contingency. So the plan is the perfect outcome, but because we do the planning, we look at the what ifs. Yeah, that's what we want to happen, but what if something happens? So value the plan. And the second one I had to learn a long time ago was, ultimately, when we make a decision, we rarely have all the information and information to make it. And the thing that I learned about myself was, to make the decision, because without it we have inaction, and make the decision, and then do everything I can to make it the right decision. So it's unlikely any of us can always make the perfect call, but we can affect the outcome of the call by what we do and how we plan it. Bearing in mind that if it was totally wrong, we need to change, but at least that's fascinating. Well, wowzers, that's brilliant. So is there anything, looking back, that you might, with the wonderful thing we call hindsight, is there anything that you might have done sooner?
What might have I done sooner? Yeah, I think I would have It's difficult, isn't it? Because there wasn't any time, was there?
No.
You think, well, I would have done this, but actually, that I'm not sure that I would. But in hindsight, I would have thought a bit harder about the mix of activities we were doing to support people,
Yep.
And sort of some of the things that were very successful were that we put together activity packs and did doorstep visits.
Brilliant.
But we did most of that sort of in the summer towards the end of lockdown. And actually, I think those earlier on in lockdown would have been really, really even more valuable to the families. And I think I would have been trying to get that beyond the families that we just support and form partnerships with other organisations in Leeds to make that sort of thing a bit more available. Other organisations did similar stuff, but you know, the coordination that came out sort of midway through towards the end of lockdown, you know, on some aspects it would have been good to sort of have that a bit earlier on. And some of the balance between activities that we did internally, I think I might have flexed a bit to give more emphasis to sort of a wider range of activities, because I think what we learned was that some children weren't able to engage with some of it, and I think I would have liked to have addressed that earlier, really. But I don't know when that thinking time would have been there, really. But anyway, that's always a good excuse, isn't it? You know.
Well, the question isn't designed to make, you know, to self-criticism. It's really interesting because, you know, there is that whole learning process, and clearly, you know, I'm sure from hearing you talk, you did what you could when you could, and most of us did. So it's just the value, you know, the value for me of the past is purely to learn for the future. It doesn't form the future in any way, because that's our choice. But it's always useful, that reflection of maybe I could do things differently. Somebody, funnily enough, somebody I was talking to a couple of days ago, their learning was, it was almost the opposite of what you said earlier, that their default was to plan and plan and plan and plan. And he said that I think learning was to actually take action alongside planning, you know, because plan, you know, I think you call it in golf, I can't remember, it's paralysis by analysis. He didn't have the time for that. That was their learning. There was no time to really analyse.
You just had to do, didn't?
Just had to do, but the reflective time is useful, just to see what for the future we might do. So I mean, great. Obviously, we're in a great week of the vaccine being announced and rolled out. Seems to be rolling out really, really quickly right now. So I think we can all start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, the other side of this situation. So what are you most looking forward to at some point next year?
We are definitely looking forward to being able to, well, two main things. One, get the children and young people back, because at the moment we've got to do it in small bubbles. That affects what they can do. It also affects what we can do in terms of types of activities. You know, we do a lot of sensory play, a lot of messy activities. You can't do those. You can't have kids all in a pile of shaving foam together. So, you know, you can adapt things and do things on a more individual basis. But anyway, so getting back to really immersive experiences with the children and young people, and more of them coming along and doing stuff, and getting the things that generate income back, getting our room hirers back in to hire rooms, getting the nursery back up to capacity so that we've got all of those children and doing all of their hours, getting back to fundraising, being able to talk to businesses about how we can work together, you know, that those sorts of, basically, I know it sounds awful, but getting the money to begin to flow back in, because, you know, otherwise we won't have, you know 2-3 years down the line might be a different story, but we're not going to let that happen. We're taking decisions now to sort of not necessarily nice ones, but in order to tick over until we can rebuild.
Brilliant.
With those really exciting things that might mean we rebuild a bit differently, but you know, or with some new things to do. But so I'm afraid it's money. Anything that brings the money in, that's what I'm looking forward to, as well as the activities. But
no, brilliant and great. And as you said at the start, the more money you bring in, the more people you can help. Absolutely 100% get that. What might you've learned about yourself over this last period?
What have I what have I learned about myself? Well, I think it's that thing about trusting your instincts a little bit. I haven't done everything right by any means, and I haven't done anything, I haven't done things on my own. I've got a great team, but I am the leader. It is my job to provide the leadership without a question of a doubt, and that goes upwards to the trustees and it goes across the organisation. And sometimes, I'm sure I'm not alone in this, I feel I have been flying by the seat of my pants and not, making it up a bit, just working it out very, very quickly. And sometimes that's felt quite scary, because I'm thinking, if I get this wrong, that's a lot of people affected.
Yes.
And I have got some things wrong, but equally I've got some things right and done some things right. And maybe there's a little bit there about just trusting that, like you said earlier, if you do it with the information that you've got and make a reasoned judgment with the information that you've got, then and make decisions. I think that's really crucial. People cannot do with any faffing about. They need you to be clear about what's happening and when. So had to provide a lot of clear guidance to staff about what was happening, what they'd get paid, what they wouldn't get paid, all of those sorts of things. That was really crucial for people to know what was happening and to be able to, manage their anxieties a little bit, because if there's a gap in information, people fill it with what's in their head. What's generally in the head isn't really what the status is, but it's what they're worried about, and so it's trying to sort of support that, really. So yeah, I think maybe trusting myself a little bit more. I might do it. I might try and do that.
Good. You should do. The world right now needs leaders. You said you are a leader, and brilliant, because the world needs leadership. People are looking for people with surety, at least on the outside, because we all know how we think and feel, and it's unlikely anyone out there is absolutely sure. But people need and will associate with people that can have the ability to create some surety by making decisions and taking action. So I think it's it's wonderful. It's funny you were talking about not always knowing where it's going. I always visualize. I talk to people I work with quite often about there's a little part of the Wallace and Gromit, the Wrong Trousers animation. And towards the end, where he's chasing the penguin, and he's on a toy train. I think it was around Christmas time, actually. He's on the toy train, and he looks forward, and the track runs out. And as he gets towards there, he picks up a pile of track, and as the train is moving forward, he's laying the track down in front of it. And I sometimes think that's like
really funny. It's exactly that.
Now, hopefully, sometimes we build the track first, but that can't always happen. And that's where we were in March. There was no way anyone had a plan for. Unlikely had a specific plan for this specific situation. So
it definitely was a putting each bit down as you went, wasn't it? Yeah,
that's right. And that's okay, because we're still running. The train's still running, so that's the most important thing.
Yeah,
brilliant. So I'm really keen just to understand, how you feel. What does the future look like for you and the organisation?
The very short-term future looks like a lot of hard work. I'll be honest. We've got a couple of years of really hard work, but the longer-term future, I do have this vision that Leeds Mencap will be here, but more than here and strong, but actually here and stronger in terms of the partnerships that we've got. I really think our future is about more partnership working. There is such strength in using each other's expertises and stuff. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we weren't in some more sort of maybe mergers, maybe more permanent partnerships, but some very stronger partnerships where we're working on longer term projects with other organizations, possibly consortia, or certainly in groups, where people understand what each other can give to the group and stuff. So I'm sort of, it's funny, isn't it? Because I think we've all been locked down, but the really exciting thing is that when I think Leeds Mencap will be a more open organisation after COVID, and a more linked in organisation and we've been moving in that direction and putting efforts into doing that anyway over the past few years. But, you know, I think this, and particularly our community-based work that we've been doing, I think that's given a bit of a push,
Yes.
bit of an impetus to that. So yeah, it's exciting.
Wonderful.
It's exciting.
Well, I love quotes, and one of my favourites at the moment is Henry Ford, and he said, "Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right." So I'm sure you're right. And that's
whichever. Yeah. So,
Cath, thank you so much for your time. I really would love to come back in maybe 12 months' time, just see where you are on this journey. And as I said before we started, anything we can do to help, please let us know, because we'd love to help and support you, especially when you've got such clarity and such vision and passion about what you do.
Thank you. Yep. Any offers welcome.
Brilliant. Well, let's get going. Let's make that happen. Thank you so much, Cath.
No, thank you.
Thanks for watching. What was your takeaway from today's interview? Please post it in the comments below and subscribe for all our upcoming videos, or click for the next video here.